Hello and welcome, Rugby Sensations. I'm Dallen Stanford, and joining me all the way at beautiful Infinity Park in Colorado is the Mayor of Glendale, Mike Dunafon. Mike, you've often been more elusive than Bigfoot, and so it's great we can track you down. And I want to start all the way back in 2007. Let's go back to the vision that you guys had behind building Infinity Park. Tell us about that.
Well, firstly, Dallen, it's good to see you. I am more elusive than Bigfoot. I'm chasing like COVID. I'm running at my age from COVID. Well, I've been sequestered, you might say. In '07, we had the idea, well, actually, well before '07, that there needed to be a central location in the United States and really in the Northern Hemisphere of this side of the planet to burn rugby so hot that the rest of the world would embrace what we're doing here based on the development of what I think is the world's greatest sport in Glendale, Colorado. So we branded Down USA. We decided that we were going to go out to our taxpayers, talk to them about recreation and becoming an iconic location for the world's greatest sport here in the United States. And that was the birth of Rugby Town.
I love it. And fast forward, let's go to 2014. The Glendale Raptors joined and formed the Pacific Rugby Premiership, finishing second in that first year, and then back-to-back champions in 2015 and 2016. Now, while the competition was excellent, especially at the top end, what do you think needed fixing, in your opinion, in that league?
Well, you and I'm a little older at it than you are, and you played at a much higher level. Congratulations for that. My game was football. So I'd come out of the gridiron portion of the world in the United States and without being exposed to rugby. My first exposure to rugby was in the British Virgin Islands, where I happened to be the only Yank on the team. I hadn't seen rugby properly done as a club sport worldwide. The culture just amazed me. We would play British warships. It was a fantastic experience. It's something I wanted to bring back to the United States. The structure of football is wonderful. You have to work very, very hard. There's tremendous amount of effort necessary. But generally speaking, the club ethos isn't there because, well, really, your football career is over in high school for most people. I was fortunate to play past college and then past college into the NFL, but I missed that club ethos. Well, the club ethos in the United States, and the PRP is a perfect example of that, lacked some of the structure that I liked very much in the organization of football at a university level or a pro level. So it was difficult for Glendale to take the rugby model of the club sport and convert it into schedules, for instance. We had to make sure that we knew who we were playing well enough ahead of time to really put a schedule together. And that's no fault of the PRP they're always desperate for money. They are pulling their club sides together. They were facing a huge uphill battle, which we succeeded in doing. The PRP teams were fantastic competitors. They still are today. In fact, we're still in the PRP at a Division I level. So, and they've come a long way. It's not just that we left them behind. We didn't. Rugby in general is expanding and organizing at an extremely, extremely good level in the United States. So we wanted to help the structure of the PRP, which I think we did, and they helped us as well. We're still playing in that division. And we decided at that point that we were going to take the MLR model, which we considered to be the development of American rugby in its initial inception, and move forward with that. And as you know, some of that has changed. The MLR has chosen to go a different direction.
Yeah, let's hit on that, talk about Major League Rugby. You guys have a unique setup there, right? So the city of Glendale is involved, but not an owner of the Raptors Major League Rugby franchise.
Well, there are, I think, 18 owners of the Raptors. It's a group of people that came together, wanted to become part of the development of the professional side of American rugby. And that's what they chose to do. So they would contract with the city, and the city then would do what's necessary to fill that contract with an ownership group. The city didn't think that owning a professional franchise was something the city could do or should do, frankly.
Right. Well, let's switch on to the massive debate between the number of foreign-born players or non-US eligible players on a 23 match day roster. So there are different leagues have done it differently across the world. I always like to refer to Japan because Japan, I feel, their professional league is 17 years old and they've achieved amazing things in their national team because of a successful professional era. They've beaten the Springboks, Rugby World Cup 2015. They were phenomenal last year in their own tournament, making the quarterfinals. But their league, the top league, has 5 players out of a roster of 15 on the field that can be foreign-born players, 6 in total in the squad. But the caveat is not only is that number quite low, but half of those players need to be eligible for Japan. So what are your thoughts on developing rugby in the States and the balance between local and foreign international players?
Well, I have the pleasure right now of speaking to an American with a strange accent. I think that would be Dallen. You're a fairly newly minted American. The idea that we can develop American rugby by using non-American foreign talent, including non-domestic players, which the MLR decided that they would declare Canadians. And I love Canada. I don't have a problem with Canada at all, but they weren't considered to be domestic. I think at some point you can take a look at some of the MLR sides, and there's 13 starting members of those sides that are not Americans in any legal sense of the word, and certainly not born here, which is fine. That is a business model that they've chosen to pursue. You bring up a great point. Japan is a perfect example of them embracing the concept that we need to develop domestic rugby players. And in the case of Japan, as you well know, some of those players have decided to align themselves politically and physically with Japanese citizenship or green cards, the things that are necessary to prove that citizenship. They put the time in to become Japanese subjects of some sort. That's really what we're talking about here. We can't effectively develop the American athlete, which is some of the greatest in the world, cross-pollinated basketball players, track stars, wrestlers, if we don't embrace the idea of developing Americans to become world leaders in rugby and eventually someday win the World Cup.
So, Mike, before the Major League Rugby began in 2018, Infinity Park has hosted a ton of events, national championships, women's tournaments, men's tournaments, Rugby Town Sevens, jam-packed season. I know you can't reveal too much, but what can you say will be played in 2021 at Infinity Park?
When you re-embrace the vision that you had in the beginning about the development of American rugby for American purposes, it's necessary to train for that. To train effectively, you need to have competition. That will be our focus. We will have lots of competition occurring here for the purposes of World Cup training at Infinity Park.
Wow, that's exciting to hear. I wish I was a few years younger, Mike. You could have given me a heads up. I'll get the boots out of the cupboard.
I get an extra pair of golden shorts.
There we go. Now, listen, lastly, but very importantly, what message do you have for the Raptors staff and the players? And then secondly, a message to the fans that have come out to support their side in the last 3 seasons.
We consider any player that's played for the Raptors a Raptor. They're home. This is the home of rugby in the United States, and all of our Raptors are really homegrown guys that will come back year after year. The fans have continued to embrace what we're doing. The age group development, they're increasing every week. Every time somebody has an event here, we see more fans because they're embracing our sport. They love the sport of rugby. Rugby is something that Americans didn't really know about on a mass scale. So we're embracing people that have never seen it before with the help of the old rugby fans like us that welcome people into the fold. The players are being paid by the league, so there's no issue there. That's something that was under contract with them from the onset. So there aren't any issues with the players being left out in the cold at all. Our coaches are the greatest coaches we think, in the rugby world. They're home, they're here, they're working because they're embracing the idea of player development and competition at Infinity Park.
Mike, we really want to thank you for your time. We're super excited to see what comes about there in 2021. Thank you for talking to us and letting the rugby community know. We're big fans, as we said. Rugby Town, USA always has a special place in our heart.
Dallen, you're the best announcer in rugby.
Thank you, Mike. I'll slip you that 20 later and maybe a haircut as well.
The haircut. I'm going for the haircut.
Brilliant stuff.